Well, back in 2013, we alerted you to a book, Into the River, that had won the prestigious New Zealand Post Children's Book Award. A book, according to the New Zealand Herald, laced with detailed descriptions of sex acts, coarse language, and scenes of drug taking, and which polarised the literary community. Well, the book used expletives, including the C word, depicts drug use, sex scenes, including one where a baby mimics sounds of intercourse. The Herald on Sunday even decided not to print extracts as they would offend some readers. And the New Zealand Herald editorial said it contains obscenities and shock references that worthwhile literature does not need. We can only wonder what the judges were thinking, or how much worse the other entries could have been. Teachers and school librarians do teenagers a disservice when they point them towards books that need to to capture their interest. Yep, fair point. And fortunately, the book seems to have all but disappeared. And then more recently, we told you about a 9-year-old child in New Zealand who was shown this book by another child in the library area. And if she can see it, that means 5-year-olds can also see it in the school library. The book is How Do You Make a Baby by Anna Fisk. Let's have a look in the book, and let me warn you, this material is explicit and you may find it offensive. But remember, this is targeted at 5 years and up and could be in your school library for your child to read. And then there was this recent McBLOG featuring an 11-year-old in the US who spoke up at a school board meeting reading aloud from the illustrated romance for teenagers Nick and Charlie that he had checked out of his school's library. And the story begins with two boys, early teen boys, stealing wine from their parents and proceeding to experiment sexually with one another. Now, the reason I raise this is because of a recent report by Daily Wire that said that the American Library Association released a list of a couple of weeks ago of the 13 most challenged books aimed at teens during last year. And they blamed anti-LGBT prejudice for what it called censorship. The problem is that each book contains sexually explicit content and other good reasons you wouldn't want your children reading them. It's not prejudice, it's not anti-LGBT, it's protecting young people from explicit, age-inappropriate, offensive, and potentially upsetting material. But the American Library Association encourages readers to show your commitment to the freedom to read by protecting the 13 books. Well, let's look at the top books on the American Libraries Association list of 13 most challenged books. Number 1 is Genderqueer. It's a memoir written by non-binary author Maya Kababi, who prefers the pronouns em and er. It's ranked as the library's most banned book 2 years in a row because of its sexually explicit descriptions and illustrations. In one passage, Kababi writes about trying to figure out if she's a gay boy trapped in a girl's body or whether a third non-binary option exists. It includes graphic descriptions of minors engaging in sexual intercourse, including oral sex, a book that could be mistaken for a how-to manual. It also talks about girls wanting to be boys, wearing chest binders, getting top surgery, and it does in fact show drawings of a sexual encounter between a man and a young boy. It is highly offensive. Yes, I have read it, and you do not want your child anywhere near this book. The second book is All Boys Aren't Blue, and it's been removed from libraries in at least 29 school districts in the US because of parental concerns about sexually graphic material, including descriptions of queer sex, according to a report in Time magazine. Number 3 is The Bluest Eye, which contains sexually explicit material, lots of graphic descriptions and lots of disturbing language, as well as an underlying socialist communist agenda, according to reviewers. Number 4, Flamer, which includes graphic descriptions of LGBT relationships. Number 5, Looking for Alaska, fifth equal actually, Looking for Alaska and Perks of Being a Wallflower. And both of these books, tied for 5th place on the list, they include graphic descriptions, sexual abuse, drug use, and profanity. And next on the American Library Association's list of 13 most challenged books is Lawn Boy, which reviewers say is a pedophilic work with exploitative and abusive elements that go beyond the swear words and the sexual passages. It describes oral sex between two 10-year-old boys. Here's the ironic part about this book. In an interview with the Washington Post, the book's author said his book was not meant to be included in school libraries, and was surprised to hear that the American Library Association gave Lawn Boy an award in 2019 for books written for adults that have special appeal to young adults. And just this one, at number 10, this book is gay, and it's been described as a guide for anyone who's ever dared to wonder about their gender or sexual preference. The book argues that sex education should teach that a lot of people choose to change their gender identity from the one they were assigned at birth. Yeah, sound familiar? Now, according to the Daily Wire report, when the library was asked about the criteria for book bans opposed by the American Library Association, they refused to admit any or say anything about parental concerns. About parental concerns about books not being age appropriate. That wasn't a reason for removing a book from the library. They said, if a library does acquire a book for a reader, it should not be removed solely because someone objects to its viewpoints or content. Yep, parents, buzz off, according to the Library Association. And I suspect most of New Zealand libraries would say the same based on their response when we raised concerns about Into the River. And note, these books aren't actually truly banned because they still remain available in dodgy bookstores and some libraries as well as on Amazon. Jay Richards, who's the director of the DeVos Centre for Life, Religion and Family at the Heritage Foundation, said, this list of challenged books by the American Library Association is a cynical exercise in diversion. He said virtually every book on the ALA's list of most challenged books contains sexually explicit material. Many of these books are explicit tools for instruction in gender ideology. The moral of the story? Check and see what books are in your local library and school library. Hoping for the best for your children is no longer worth the risk.